everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Michelle Wakalo, aka the original African girl, and today I've got a special guest with me. This is my special Angolan friend. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Karina, and I'm here today to share a very interesting subject that is autism, like autistic kids, and signs and how difficult it is to deal with limitations.
Okay, so thank you, because I don't know much about autism.
It's okay.
I think I started learning from you, and I believe that there are other people like me out there that don't know much about autism. Hence why I said it would be nice if you could come so we'll talk about it, So thank you for coming, Karina.
Thank you for inviting me and, to give me the opportunity to be useful. Because I want to say that I have a 4-year-old son. That's why Michelle knows now a little bit more about autism. He's nonverbal. When we say nonverbal, is not just that he doesn't speak, but he's not functional, like he doesn't create phrases. He can say mom, he can say no, but he doesn't create phrases. So when a child is not functional with the language, is nonverbal. It's not the lack of words at all. You see what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you say nonverbal, people think that he's like deaf. He doesn't speak at all. But it's not the case. So I want to share his diagnosis. It was done 2.5 years ago. He was 2 and 3 months. I understood he was different in some way when he was 1.5, and I'll share with you the few signs you can tell if you need to go see a specialist. Lack of eye contact, when when you're breastfeeding your kid and he's not looking to you in the eyes.
Are you serious? So you can tell from when they're that young? Wow.
Of course, like I breastfed my child since he was 2. So when he was 1.5, he was still here. And I realized he was not looking straight in my eyes anymore, and making that little smile that they normally do. And he used to do that. So you can ask me, and how did it change? Because there is something that happens with the brain, which we call in Portuguese poda neuronal. I don't know how to say in English, though. You have to Google it.
Don't worry, I'll put it there somewhere.
So this happens, this poda neuronal happens, and then it looks like the kid have a regressive status of mind.
Oh wow!
Right? He's no longer saying mom. He's no longer saying no. He's no longer saying down.
Few words. From what age? Is there like a particular?
If you're very attentive to details, and if you are familiar with autism, you can tell by 1.5. It's my case. Not every parent. I used to work with kids when I grew up in Europe. So some of them were autistic, some have had cerebral paralysis and Down syndrome. So for me, it was like 16 years ago. So nowadays, when I see something that is out of the standard, for me, it's very easy to pick. Because I dealt with that in the past. So it happened
from their behavior and everything.
So there is one thing we call stereotypies, like you move your hand like flapping all the time. So some people see the kid do that. Oh no, it's just a face. It's going to disappear. But actually, the kid or the child is showing signs that something needs to be checked down. So it's the flapping, and normally when it's too loud, or he's anxious.
I see. So that's their own way of passing a message or something.
Change of routine and stuff. And principally when they don't talk yet, you see that as normal. But when it's the age of 2 and he has to start talking, you go like,
why is my kid not talking yet?
And then the doctor tells you, does he flap too much? Does he not make eye contact?
They know the signs.
And you go like, it started long ago.
Oh wow.
You see, but the one thing that parents with kids with the autism,
kids,
we're trying to fight is this thing. Each kid has his own time, and this thing takes.
And it's an African thing. No,
You
just
see,
give them time.
you
It's
know,
just
your
a
father
phase.
also spoke with 3. So why
Yeah,
bothering
sure.
yourself to go to a specialist? Just
Yeah,
waste
true.
of money.
Yeah.
They go like this. So if you waste time, then you won't be able to help your child as much as you would if you
The
start
earlier
the
the better.
intervention earlier. Yeah. So lack of eye contact, flapping.
Okay.
Normally autistic kids, they have problems with the floor, like they don't put the feet in the floor like this. They work like tippy toes, like ballet. They run,
Okay.
they don't stay still. Most of them are hyperactive.
Yeah, okay.
So you see, like a child doesn't want to sleep all the time, moving around. Another thing is very selective with food, colors. Like if you have 3 types or 4 types of food in the same meal, he'll eat just one, or because of the color, because of the shape.
I understand, but maybe for that people might not get that, because in general kids are quite fussy, and I've got 2 myself. So.
Yeah, that's true. But a combination of all these aspects, it should raise a flag. At least to go check it out, because there is these exams you can do. It's not like a disease. Autism is not a disease. It's a
That's what you guys
neurologic.
need to understand. Autism
is
is not a disease.
It's a limitation of the brain. Something gets disconnected when the baby's inside of our womb. It's actually, it starts there. It doesn't start outside. Yeah, it doesn't start outside. It starts inside. I do believe that something make it. And we
Because
spoke about
just,
this before, remember? So we don't have proofs. We cannot point fingers to the vaccines or whatever, because
we don't have vaccines for.
No,
Okay, I mean the normal vaccines for kids.
Yeah, because some people say that, but
or maybe you
it wasn't
this,
you didn't give that, or it's because you gave that. You know that. So it's a waste of time to try to focus on the problem. Let's focus on the solution. So the solution would be the therapy. Some parents, they give, bleach to kids.
Bleach?
Yeah, there is something going on now.
I don't understand. What do they do with the bleach?
They make them drink because because there was this group that said that the bleach was curing autism.
Oh my god! That thing. Oh my god! No way.
I know, like desperate parents.
No way.
Try
That's
everything.
terrible. How would they even do that to their child or to their kids? Like, who does that? Wow. Can I just ask you one question, Karyna?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure some people will be wondering, like we were just talking about the origin and blah blah. If it's genetic, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's a very good one. That's a very good one. You do have genetic case. For my son, it's genetic, and I know for sure that it isn't, because there is an exam you can do to determine if it's genetic or not. You cannot make blood exams or whatsoever to determine what caused it. You see, but you do have exam. Is not X fragile, but you also have the X fragile, that there is a test on the autism diagnosis that you do, and there is levels that they can see and read. A genetic specialist can read that. You see, this peak shows that it's genetic, and it doesn't say if it comes from the father or it doesn't say. It just shows like positive for genetics. So there is a background, or negative for genetics, or inconclusive.
I see.
So when it's inconclusive, means that even if it's genetics, it was
ancestors.
Well, for my son was inconclusive, and I did like inconclusive, and I did twice. So, and it's a very expensive. No, unfortunately, we don't have diagnosis like centers in here. We only have follow-up, like therapies and stuff. These kind of genetic exams, it might be possible to do in the most expensive clinics in here. It might
but
be.
it still won't be very accurate.
Even if it is, I'm not. I really don't have the information that we do have here. If we do, it's even better, right? But the fact that you don't have the diagnosis like team, it makes most likely not possible to do the genetic exam, because then you don't have someone to follow up on the full picture of the issue. So and about therapies and medicine or whatever, some parents, they give pills to kids, like to the kids, like
is it like a daily thing
to sleep, because like I need to rest, and he's too hyperactive.
I see.
I'm traveling,
so you just decide to put the kid down.
So I don't judge. I'm sorry if I sounded like I do.
No, I don't think you did.
No, I don't judge, but my choice is no drugs to my kid. Autism is not a disease, so it doesn't have a cure. Okay. I really pray to God that they will find the reason why it happens, so they can work out the solution to minimize the limitation of being autistic. Because there is a lot of positive sides of it, as you know. My son is very good with electronics. There is these games. This is so difficult, and the kid can play it like, since he was 2.5.
Oh wow!
I'm blocking my phone with 6 digits. I was like, what?
Children,
but it's not 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's like mixed numbers.
Oh wow!
And he sees you put one time, and then he does it.
Very clever boy.
Doesn't go to the toilet by himself. I was like, okay, you can do this with your fingers, and then you cannot go to the toilet by yourself. If you don't control him to take him, or the signs you give, he's going to do it right there. It's very complex. It's like the brain has something, going on about wires, and it's that it makes the child not be as functional as a typical
it's like
standard.
When the brain has selective memories, like
exactly. So it has been very difficult, principally living in Angola. He was pre-diagnosed in the United States. He's American, so I try to take advantage of his nationality. Like every time I can, every time I can, I go there. Like it's zero cost. So just the ticket, everything else, he has the right to use the services. So it has been very useful, for him to have this kind of help, because we don't have it here. Even when I was, as you know, I had to quit my job because it was very difficult to deal with it, and also other issues. They're very abusive.
Because I was just gonna ask you how he is around other kids.
After 2.5 years therapy, he's now socializing. But before that, you could have 100 kids in here. He would not come any near. He would be just with the grown-ups. It's almost as if he thought he's a grown-up, you see, and he doesn't want to play with other kids. Before, he was not defending himself. If someone was coming and pushing him, someone like kid was coming and pushing him and stuff, he was just moving around. After the therapies, 2 years, not after, 2 years and a half now doing therapy, he's not defending himself. And I'm like, yay! And I reinforced this in my house. I said to him, if any kid beat you up, you beat up.
A typical African mother.
Yes, you don't go, like, the other kid beat me. No, first you give back, and then you go tell the teacher. You go like, like the kid beat me and I gave it back. That's it. Because if you go before you give it back, then you don't have your chance. You see. So
although we are not advising you to tell your children to start fighting.
So I have the right to teach him the way I find correct, right? So it's not like it would be better for him to give back than me going to the child and papa.
No, I was going to say, there's a friend of mine in Abuja. They just discovered that her nephew, I think he's about 4, thereabouts. I think they just discovered that he has autism as well. So right now they're getting him homeschooled. Do you think, does his son go to school or?
Okay. My son, the thing in here is a little bit different. Like with 4, you're not required to go to school yet. We start with 5.
Oh,
but
just like the British system.
Yeah, he goes to the daycare.
Okay.
It's like kindergarten thing. And he has few activities, but it's basically it's as if you left him with your mom to take care.
Oh, okay.
You know, like there is not how can I say, academic, you know,
just go
into
there
it. Yeah, it's just to be a child.
Yeah, of course. And it's better than being indoors all day as well.
But yes, most of the parents, they choose to do homeschooling because of the discrimination, because of the bullying.
So they discriminate kids like that? I mean, that's terrible.
But I'll tell you why. Like when your country doesn't have laws to preserve them, then
I don't think there's enough awareness being raised right now. Like I said, I didn't know much about autism until I met you.
We find, like, I belong to an association named EKANDA. Anyway, EKANDA was created by like parents that have grown-up kids with autism. The main person behind it has 2 kids. One is 22 and the other one is 16, both autistic kids. So she's a PhD. She has PhD in autism area. So she has a very good background.
I believe it's something that she went to do after finding out that
the specialization, yes, but she was already into psychology.
I see. Okay, that field.
Yeah. She was already in the field. Just focus on the autism.
Because even you right
special
now,
education. You're
actually training now as well, aren't you?
Yes, I'm doing occupational therapy, OT. But it's something I always wanted to do.
Okay.
My son just came to remind me what my passion is. Oil and gas was just for the
for the money,
Exactly.
Just to work with oil and gas.
Yeah, it was good. I had a lot of experience.
I mean, there's nothing like doing something you have a passion for. So.
And you make money with it.
Oh, definitely. That's even a bonus.
That's very effective. So you were asking about the association.
Yes.
So they do, they raise awareness about autism and other special needs like Down syndrome, cerebral paralysis, and all these special needs that needs like how can I say, awareness, because some people don't know that a cerebral paralysis kid can be functional, right? If you manage to read the expressions.
I don't know much about that either. I know about Down syndrome, but I don't know.
Cerebral paralysis is a little bit more complex because you don't have any movement. Like your body's just normally have
so they don't work
just in your face.
Okay, I think I have.
And then you have those equipments that help read your the brain, the signs or whatever, if it's active, if it's not active, to read the eyes when you move, right, when you move, because the person understands what you're saying. It's a matter of it's like you're talking to him and you go like, move your eyes to the right if you understand me, and he'll go like, you see.
Oh, I see.
So you need to train people on that, otherwise the person will be there as if he was dead when he's actually alive and understanding everything around him or around her. EKANDA is raising awareness, is trying to find donations to go to the poor areas. Imagine I have a little bit and I struggle.
Exactly.
Imagine
because
those
how
people.
much you say you spend for therapies? We had this discussion some days ago. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So imagine the people that are not
for therapies. I spend per month almost $800.
Jesus is Lord.
Yeah, just for therapies.
And that is dollars.
Yeah, almost that. $800.
And is it like a daily thing? About 200 per week?
No. It's like 280,000 per month.
280,000 kwanza.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see the number of digits you have.
Wow. That's
so it's a lot.
And
it's almost 300,000. Yeah. So you do once per week.
Sorry guys, just so you know, she just said about 200 and what kwanza, about 280 kwanza. That is like 290, 300 naira, 1,000 naira. Just so you know.
Yeah. So it's normally it's one time per week. Each he does speech therapy 1 time per week. So you pay 1,700 kwanzas for 4 sessions only per month.
17.
It's like $120.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah.
And there's no support from, like
the government.
the government. Nothing.
No, zero. And to get worse, insurance doesn't cover.
Are you serious?
Doesn't cover those therapies. Only psychology.
Oh wow.
Only to see a psychologist, which also required for an autistic kid. But speech therapy, occupational therapy, motricity, and psychopedagogy, it doesn't cover.
So you pay for all that?
Yes.
Wow.
And that's the reason why it's so expensive.
Yeah, I can understand why people are trying to raise donations for people that can't. Because
Yeah,
that is a lot of
it's
money.
a lot of money.
Jesus Christ.
And to get worse, even when you have money, you cannot help your child in the way you want to, because there is not a university in this country that gives you those trainings. So that's the reason why I'm doing mine in South Africa.
Yeah, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
See.
So even when you have
and you're
money,
going and spending more money again, going to South Africa to do all that because you paid the flight.
Worst. I wanted him to do twice a week the speech therapy, but there is no empty spot because there is waiting list for the other kids. You see, even when you have money to pay for it,
to do it. Oh my God! Because that's really
because
sad.
they're trying.
That means
to
you don't
do
have
what
enough
they can.
specialists here. And
Exactly.
I see.
Since we don't have the degree in country, all the foreigners come.
In here.
And then it's difficult as a foreigner, to be living in here, and the salaries, and we have these transfer issues with the dollars and stuff. It's very difficult to take money out
of Angola.
So it's a daily basis struggle. It's very, very difficult, like in all levels, educational, law, environment, lack of information.
I think it's all over Africa. It's not just Angola.
I agree. All over Africa. South Africa, though, have a better.
I don't consider South Africa. I know it's Africa, but I don't look at that country like an African country.
You be more.
To me, South Africa is the abroad.
Yeah, it's like everybody knows what autism is. Like everybody, like airport and blah blah blah. They go like, okay, he's autistic, and they go like, okay, South Africa is like United States. You don't have priority in line.
Like Europe and America and everything.
You don't have priority in line, even if you're pregnant. This is one thing I don't get used to. Wow. Yeah, you stay in the line, but if the kid is autistic and the kid start having crisis in the middle of the queue, they'll have to give you priority because they start breaking everything.
Okay. So that's what you call crisis. You call it crisis.
Yeah. So an autistic kid is in the middle of a crisis when suddenly you think it's suddenly, but actually it's something he saw or heard and took a while for the brain to so suddenly he starts crying on the floor, beating strangers, biting himself, punching the head, and all these kind of things. Of course, not all autistic kids have the same level of irritation, but all autistic kids have autistic crisis.
And when they get this crisis, do they also start hitting like the parents and people around them, or just their own self?
Everybody. Wow. I wish he was just beating me. He beats himself, and he does. He bites himself pretty hard. See,
it must be difficult to watch. As a mother,
it's very difficult.
Imagine,
of course, now I have a lot of knowledge about it, and I'm studying, and I know how to calm him down. I know how to make the crisis go. Of course, it takes time because there is techniques, and you have to follow the procedure. You have to step out. You have to go to a quiet place. If you're in the airport, what quiet place do you have? You have to go to the toilet.
So obviously they don't like noise, distraction.
It depends. It's very complex,
like
because
you said, different kids with different.
It's very complex. Before he could not stand music, and now he can. But if there is a horn like a car, it might be a problem for him.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to understand how the brain works, and it's very painful to feel so useless.
Helpless.
You know,
Yeah,
when he's having a crisis and he's biting himself pretty hard, and you think like a piece of meat is going to sting.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you see the mark there, and sometimes I have to put my hand on top of his so he can bite me instead of his hand. It's very difficult. Even with therapies and all my knowledge in the area and stuff, it's still difficult for me to deal with that. Imagine those parents that don't know that the kids. And one thing I want to ask, like taking opportunity of the video, is for the parents to be very attentive, to the details. And it's like sometimes there is a need, to slap your kid in the hand. Don't do that. If the kid is typical, but if the kid is autistic, he doesn't know. His brain doesn't work in the way the typical brain works. So he doesn't have the knowledge of right and wrong. He doesn't have the awareness of danger. So if you hit him
from now till tomorrow, it won't change anything. Because I can imagine some African parents, this boy is too stubborn, blah, blah, blah.
He's breaking everything in the house, So it will get worse and worse. Wow. When the kid is very hyperactive and the kid shows that it's a little bit different than the standard kids, it's always better to start with a psychologist. Any psychology, anywhere, will be able to detect if there is a probability that the kid is in the spectrum of autism or not. And she will direct the parent to the specialist.
Sorry, I cut you short earlier. You were going to tell them the signs to look out for. I think that's very important.
Lack of eye contact, the flapping, with the hand. Normally it's like just one, they choose just one, but some kids, they do it both. If they're not flapping, they're doing this, like with the super bad,
like a stretching kind of,
and very stiff. You see that he's putting too much
energy,
effort. And you see the kid sweating.
Oh wow!
Like he's doing a lot of effort to make that movement. Also, the tippy, like the tippy toes, like a ballet.
It's like the floor irritates them, so they don't want to
they don't want to touch it. Also, they don't grab things with a hand if they're very picky with textures. They go like.
So even with food, they are very picky with the texture
everything.
Of the food.
If you put like a plasticine or if you put like sand, and if the kid is not touching or is making a face that thing is strange for him, something so simple. So that's also an awareness. Another thing is selective with the food, as we said before. Lack of sleep. Mine didn't have that much lack of sleep, but he was very
restless.
No, not restless. I didn't have that problem, thanks God. But with food, it was complicated. There was one phase that he only what he was accepting was Cerelac.
Oh wow!
Imagine a kid eating just Cerelac.
Oh wow!
That's terrible for his
the diet and everything.
So just sugar, and Cerelac has nothing.
That's why it's for babies.
So nowadays he eats better. He has the veggies and meat and everything. But it took like
a while
to get there. Like give 2 spoons. He's fighting. Don't insist.
You don't force them either.
And actually you have to bribe them a lot. Oh, here's the tablet.
I believe that almost all kids do that.
But some people will go like, but you're spoiling the kid. Listen, if it's for him to eat, I'll spoil him.
Definitely.
It's
especially
better.
If they are fussy like this.
It's better to have my kid eating if I'm giving him a bribe or something. They're not eating at all because when you're hungry, when he's hungry he's gonna eat. Listen, autistic kids normally are very tolerant to pain.
Oh wow!
Yes, that's why they bite so hard. That's why they so strong hands, because they don't feel it. So they don't feel it
as much. Like you said, it takes time for the
information to get to the brain. So it's normally not a good idea to say, oh, when he's hungry he's going to eat, because if he doesn't feel pain, it might be that he doesn't feel as hungry as you think he's gonna be. You see, so they can tolerate pain and those kind of things. Like my son, he's 4 months now, but he still doesn't cover himself by himself.
Cover, you mean?
When he's sleeping, it might be cold as hell, and he's not going to cover himself.
So
you see what I'm saying? So he doesn't, although he's feeling cold, he doesn't have the information that he has to
cover himself.
See, he doesn't get there. So there is no specialist in the world that is going to tell you that, oh, it passed you age or blah blah blah. As I said, there is this lady that has a 22-year-old. Yeah, so there is a lot of autistic people with 30-something. You know, they end up being functional with help and stuff, but how many people? But
that is possible as well. But
it is possible depending on the level of the autism, and the level of the therapies, the intensity of the therapies.
And this is for people that also have the money, because I mean, it's not free.
Exactly.
Hence why we need to create more awareness. And you said that the donation thing is needed.
Early stages, you go you try to find help. You do what you can, and having hope is better than no hope at all. So true, I agree. One thing that we always concerned about is those people without information that put their kids into the psychiatry.
No.
Yeah, you know.
Because what, they think the kids are crazy?
Of course.
Oh my God, that is really sad.
He's not talking. He poops on himself. He pees on himself. So you see, they go like,
I can't deal again, that's it.
You see,
that's really sad.
It's very, very sad, but this happens, and there are autistic kids that are very, very aggressive. So they always hitting the head in the walls and everything. So when the parents don't know that it might be associated to autism or any other, you think the person is mentally ill, and then you're going to put into psychiatry, and then they're going to be drugging him. You see, it's very, very difficult. Very difficult. I visit, centers, and
Do you have centers? Okay, like the
psychiatrists, yes.
Okay.
And there are cases in the psychiatry that you can see clearly that it might be autism, but you go
there's no convincing them, is there? To them, they've concluded that the child has mental disorder.
And also with Africans, so they're always talking about witchcraft. And those
it's your family from the village and all that.
It's because you asked for money or you didn't give back, so they put a curse on your child, and that's why he's like that. Anyway, a lot of things that makes me, be willing to, step forward and speak about it and give my own example. Like quitting my job was very difficult. ExxonMobil.
You had to quit your job to take care of your son.
And everybody oh, you quit ExxonMobil?
What else did they expect you to do?
Oil and gas and blah blah.
Okay, just so you know, guys, she's a single mother, because some might be wondering what of the man or the husband.
I'm a single mom by option, but still. Let's say
true. You don't know anybody any other
it's because people will go oh, why did see some women have this option of course I would not know that I would be in need of so much help, but when I decided to be
even some people that are even right now married and with their husbands, I don't think their relationship, we had this discussion some days ago. I think it puts a huge strain on their relationship as well. Most of them
they break up.
You see? It's
very, very, very difficult. You need to have a very, very strong mind to actually, maintain a marriage when you have a special need kid. Principally guys.
I was just going to say, I'm sure the first to get up and go is the man, because it's very difficult for mothers to just walk out on their kids.
One of these days, a girl said, you see, you decided to have the kid on your own. If you decided to, have a husband who'd be easier on you, I'm like, excuse me.
I don't think so.
I know a lot of married girls that they I feel sorry for them because they look like they're alone. They're the ones picking up the kids. They're the ones helping the kids.
Especially in Africa.
They're doing everything. And the guy, just because he works, he thinks he's doing me her favor.
Some of them, the women work too, but they still come back home and still do all these things, you know.
So I said, listen, don't go that way, because I know a lot of people inside of marriage that they do everything on their own. And life is made by choices.
I was just going to say it's their choice if that's what they want, you know.
If I end up, you know, finding someone, or you know, if I end up deciding that I want to have a life with someone, of course I'll have. You know?
Look at Kylie. She has a lot of money and everything. Kylie Jenner, and she's so young and all, but she still went and had a kid because she really wanted a kid. You know, so married or not, you have your son, and it's just you and your son. It must also be difficult for you to even go into a relationship.
Yeah. It is because it doesn't.
Because all your attention, I mean, it must take a very patient man that really loves you so much as well to.
That's true.
Sit and understand. Okay, this was going on. Okay,
that's
you know,
true. But you know, one thing I do is that I always give space, like, to my child and to myself. How he goes to the daycare, so I have things to.
Time to
do for
myself.
When he's in the house, I have the time that I'm normally with him. Like, if I decide to have a relationship, the person knows that the time he's gonna have with me is when the child is asleep. So all these kind of things you actually can manage. And
at the end of the day, it's the same with any normal relationship.
Exactly.
You know, there's time for the kids, there's time for the partner or husband or whatever. So
But you're right. The person really needs to have strong feelings, because it's not easy at all to be around.
I mean, even when you say the fathers, the biological fathers of the kids leave, imagine someone that
principally in public, they get embarrassed because the kid is shouting, the kid is because they go like, oh, they'll think that I'm not educating him or her properly. I'm like, hello, you have to inform everybody that your kid is autistic. One of these days, a lady said, why is it that you always say he's autistic? He's so good looking. No one needs to know he's autistic. I'm like,
crazy. So because he is, I mean, I don't know the way people think.
It's because people they go like, it's so embarrassing to. No, it's not. It's more embarrassing if people think that I'm not raising him properly.
No, definitely.
So I prefer to inform people everywhere I go that my son is autistic, so they don't go to me like, oh,
and it's true because I mean, when you see your son or any other child, I need you guys to understand that there's no deformation or whatever.
Yeah, it's not physical.
They're just normal. Okay, exactly.
It's
that's
not
the
physical.
word. Yeah.
I should have a picture of my handsome.
I know.
Like, gosh, and he has these dreads.
I mean, if you want, I could put it up there somewhere.
Yeah. So he's very charming. It's not because he's mine.
Yes, I've met him a few times.
Yeah.
He is,
And people go like, oh, he looks so normal, and I go like, he's
normal. I mean, hello.
Every kid is normal, okay? He's not typical. He's not standard, but he is normal.
He's unique. Also,
we have to understand that the way we talk hurts. And
some people just talk without thinking, just say whatever comes out.
Sometimes it's not in purpose. It's because they're really not aware that you cannot say that a child is not normal. Oh, when did you start realizing that he wasn't normal?
Oh my God!
I'm like,
that will that will piss me off.
I'm like,
I'm
like, but you see, I feel pity
because they don't know lack of
So I go like, he's very normal. He's very normal. I start realizing that he had limitations when he was 1.5. But my son is very normal. All kids are normal. So even when the limitation starts with the physique, even when the appearance, like Down syndrome, it's still a normal kid with a limitation on the appearance or the behavior that neurological thing. But yeah, when you say that he doesn't look so normal, it's very.
It doesn't even sound right. I mean.
For us.
Right.
But some people they don't actually understand.
People don't know. But still, I mean, there's a way.
Common sense, right?
Even if common sense demands that. Even if you are thinking it inside, you don't bring it out like that.
That's true. You can bring those kind of things when you're talking about someone that is too jealous, or someone that is too arrogant, or someone that, you know, those things that you actually can fix. Okay, not things that you can't fix and you didn't ask for it or whatever. Even those things about being arrogant or whatever, we need to try to understand the person to see if that's a mechanism of defense. If something happened in the past for the person to be like that, before you start judging and before you start doing everything, you know, that normally human beings are doing.
True.
So do you have any more questions for me?
No, actually, I'm just gonna say, guys, if you have any question for Karina, like I said, she's my very good friend here in Angola. If you have any questions for her, just send it in, write it in the comment section, and we'll get back to them. Basically, yes. So
I'll be more than willing to answer your questions, and not only for autism, but any other, you know, concern you might have. Since I'm studying for special education and everything, so please drop your questions, and thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, Karina. Thank you so much. It was so fun talking to you. Yes, it was. So hopefully we're gonna make another video soon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now that I'm
you're very comfortable now. She's almost taking over my channel. Please come and be going. You've done your job.
Right now, you know how Africans are. I'm still in this. Right now, and she has this light, so fancy thingy. It's like she's already a film producer or something.
I wish.
Oh my gosh. That looks so cute. How did you do that?
I know, it's cute, right? I won't teach you so you won't take over my channel. Alright guys, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you learned something, or you learned something new from Karina. And like you said, I'm still learning as well. So
this is a very valid point. You know, learning doesn't have age.
Exactly.
We learn
every day.
Every day. Don't close your mind to learning process. Don't be afraid of risking in life. You know, like
just go for it.
Be
a go-getter. All right guys, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.